We're on the junction of St James Place, Great George Street, and where Upper Parliament Street becomes Parliament Street. I love a sunny day as much as anybody does, but it would be nice to be able to see what you're filming. Can't see a thing in the screen. It's just a case of point the camera in the right direction and hope for the best. Well, this is where it all began back in 2019. I came here to make a video about St James Church, or St James in the City as it's probably better known, and I also started to make a video about Woolton Village. So they were both shot roughly around about the same time, and I'd split my time between filming the two. But this was the first video that actually went onto YouTube on this channel. There seems to be a thing going on at the moment where public grass is only mowed around the edges, leaving space for wild flowers to grow. And something similar has been done here. Hope you can see the cathedral in the background there. These really sunny days make it so difficult to film because I can't see what's in the screen. Could be filming anything, but I think the cathedral's in and these flowers really very nice. Although it's really hot today, there's a really strong breeze as well. My assistant here getting in the shot. Anyway, this isn't really the subject of the video today. We're at the bottom of, I think, Upper Parliament Street, where it joins Parliament Street, and we're going to have a look at a building that Liverpool lost in around about 1980, and we lost it really just to widen a road. Sad. Now if we can negotiate these steps without actually dropping anything, we'll head off over the road and have a look at Great George's Place and Great George Street, or at least some of it. And as always, we're going to try and compare what this location looked like back in its heyday to what it actually looks like today. In front of us is St George's Place and the only original building left standing. This apartment block is very new. I think it was completed around about a year ago. This building became the Wedding House, a department store for all things wedding, in 2003. But the building we're going to look at today stood there. The Liverpool Council of the 1980s were determined to return a community to the area underneath the Anglican Cathedral, and this is where a lot of this building came from. This road has been widened by a considerable amount, but if I was walking prior to 1980, I would probably be inside the David Lewis Theatre. As far as I know, this building was demolished purely to make this road wider. So let's have a look at the building and its history. This is David Lewis. He was born in London in 1823, but he moved to Liverpool in 1840. By 1856, he had saved enough money to start his own business, a boys' clothier based in Bowl Street, Liverpool. He would later become the founder of Lewis's department store, one of the largest retail businesses of its kind in England. He opened similar stores in Sheffield, Birmingham, and somewhere called Manchester. Upon his death in 1885, he bequeathed very large sums of money for the erection of hospitals and other institutions, not only in Liverpool, but spreading out into Cheshire. So this is the actual building we're talking about, and it seems to have had a few titles. Some people call it the David Lewis Hostel, some call it the David Lewis Hotel, and some people call it the David Lewis Theatre. Probably it was all these things. This image with the wedding house on the left shows exactly where the David Lewis Theatre would have stood. The David Lewis Hostel was built in 1906. The architect was a J. Francis Doyle. The theatre was erected as part of the David Lewis building also in 1906, and it was intended as a music hall for men using the David Lewis Hostel and Club. It was first licensed as a music hall from January 1907, but as it was a large and quite elaborate structure, it was felt it would be bad economy to limit its use to just a music hall. So arrangements were made with local amateur dramatic societies to stage their productions there. The first theatrical licence was issued in October 1910. A cinema licence was obtained in 1914, and they started showing films there. In the 1920s, a licence for boxing was issued, and in the 1930s, billiards was introduced. By then, the theatre could accommodate around about 1,000 people. In 1960, the floor was levelled and dancing was introduced, but film shows and theatrical productions continued to be staged. The David Lewis Theatre ceased being a place of public resort when the certificates expired on the 30th of November 1977. I think this is one of those buildings which nobody could find a use for. Once it had ceased being what it was, nobody could think of something it could be. So in 1980 it was demolished and Great George Street was widened. But while we're here, let's have a look at the wider picture, because the whole of Great George Place and pretty much most of Great George Street has been decimated. Back to the wedding house, and this artwork is a mural by Liverpool artist John Culshaw. It's called The Secretary Bird. On the other side, this mural was created by Brazilian artist Liam Bononi. He moved to Liverpool in 2019, and the mural is of one of his friends. Both murals are around 50 feet tall. This building was built in 1860 for the North and South Wales Bank. It later became a Midland Bank, and in 1975 it became Grade 2 listed. That's probably why it's still here today. So let's have a look at some old photographs of what this area used to look like when there was other things here. The David Lewis Theatre was locally known as the Davy Lou, and in this photograph, which is taken from Nile Street, which no longer exists, the Davy Lou is on the left hand side and we're looking down towards the wedding house. Judging by the car in this photograph, I would say this was taken in the 1960s. This is another photograph of Nile Street, this time looking up towards the cathedral. And this one would have been taken from roughly where our new apartment block is built. This photograph was taken from Crump Street. Now, Crump Street still exists, so let's go and have a look at Crump Street, and it's located just behind the apartment block. You can just see the apartment block on the left hand side there, and that's the rear entrance. Sometimes things don't change. It looked like a building site in the old photograph, and they're still building on it now. This area of Liverpool is now known as the Rope Walks, and there's quite a bit of building going on in the whole area, as you can see from this shot here. So let's get onto Parliament Street and have a look from the other end. This then is Crump Street viewed from Parliament Street. Be nice when it's finished. Right, that's it. I'm off to go and get myself a coffee through these new builds here. Oh, before I go, this is St James Market. It was demolished in 1899. The David Lewis was built on the same site in 1906. The things we lose. Okay, that really is it. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch up soon.